2 in the morning, office light cut through the rain on the glass. City's dead quiet, just a hum of wire, the ticking wall clock. Blueprints spread wide like scars across this oak desk. Numbers crawling like snakes through the bones of a dream. My hands smell like ink, cheap bourbon and old regret. Lord knows I chase money like a sinner chasing a ghost. But you stood there in the doorway, curls lit by that lonely lamp. Said, what you building in the dark, baby? I laughed like a man who didn't know the cause. I said, one day I'll buy the sky if the ground don't break me first. You shook your head slow like a preacher hearing a lie. Laid your hand on my shoulder, warm Sunday fire. You said, I don't need the world, just don't quit on yourself tonight. So I drew my life in the dark while the whole world slept. Bleeding ink like a sinner confessing every step. Cross on the wall and a pistol in the drawer. Lord knows a man like me been the world. But you stayed in the smoke of the midnight flame, held my soul when ambition called my name. Yeah, the empire came slow, brick by lonely brick. But the blueprint was love, and the devil in the mix. Train tracks, deals when bad men lie, blood on a handshake. I buried one contract out back like a dead man's bone. Lit a match and watched those papers turn to ash. By the fire with that old silver cross in my hand, said a prayer I half believed through whiskey breath. Asked the Lord if a crooked man still built something clean. Wind rattled the windows like judgment knocking, then your voice behind me soft as desert rain. Stand up, baby, you ain't done yet. I looked in the mirror, saw a ghost in a tailored suit, eyes like cold hearts still beating through the suit. You wiped the ash off my hands like some holy rag. Said kings ain't born in daylight. they're forged in the fight. So I built my life in the dirt while the city dreamed. Every sin in my chest turned into steel and steam. Cross on the chain and fire in my veins. Mercy and ambition running side by side in flames. You were there in the silence between each scar, like a quiet prayer under a dying star. Yeah, the empire stands tall where the shadows once lived. But the man you say was the only thing worth building in this life I live.
City lights bleeding through a tall glass pane. Late night office smelling like smoke and rain. Leather chair under my worn out bones. Empire built on 1,000 unknowns. 2 chairs facing this oak wood desk. One for the devil, one for the rest. Mine stays warm from the deals I made. The other stays quiet like a prayer that waits. Sometimes the door creaks open slow. Cold wind dancing through the hallway glow. She walks in late with a crooked smile. Wild night hair in a florist pile. Little white roses tied in twain. Says you still fighting that war of yours tonight. I laugh real low, pour 2 black teas. Kings need calm in their battle seas. I've seen men drown in their crown and gold, sell their souls just to feel control. But every throne gets lonely too if there ain't a soul that sits with you. That chair across my desk stays still, like a quiet faith against my will. Not every love needs fire and war. Some just walk through your office door. She don't chase crowns, she don't demand. Just lays her flowers in my hand. And in a world where power's a liar, her silence cools my burning fire. Blood sticks under my skin. Deals gone bad, old ghosts walk in. Mirror in the hallway cracks my stare. A tired king with a sinner's prayer. I wash my hands in a marble sink, like a man who's afraid to think. Pull that cross from beneath my shirt. Ask the sky if the road was worth it. Then she sits down in that quiet chair. No sermon preached, no judging glare. Just pours the tea and watches me like she knows every enemy. And that's the ritual. We never say war outside, but peace this way. Some love scream like a burning gun. Some just stay when the war ain't won. And every man who's walked through hell knows the ones who stay never yell. That chair across my desk still waits. Through the deals, the sins, the shifting fates. Not every love needs grand parade. Some are built in the quiet shade. She brings those flowers through storm and flame, never asking me to change my name. In the truth I learned in the life I wear, a man may rule 1,000 thousand lands, but redemption sometimes sits right there in a chair across the desk. Neon rain on a cracked bus station sign, midnight wind and a cheap red wine. Your boots on gravel, hands in your coat, that silver cross hanging close to your throat. She stood there quiet with a suitcase small, streetlight halo on a peeling wall. You could have begged, could have chained her knee, but love ain't love when it's built on fear. Engines humming like a restless choir, cold night smoke and a tired old fire. You looked in her eyes through the diesel glow, and you knew damn well she had to go. You felt that ache like a knife in bone, a king with a throne but a heart alone. Devil whispered, make us stay, but some roads break when you're forced their way. You let her go free in the cold night air, didn't chain her soul to your silent prayer. Love ain't a cage and it sure ain't a war. Sometimes mercy's the heaviest door. Yeah, you stood there still while the taillights burned, watching every mile she turned. And the hardest truth a man can know is loving someone enough to let them go. Years roll by like desert dust. You built your name out of steel and trust. Deals got darker, money got tall, but a ghost still walked your midnight hall. One late night in a hotel room, mirror cracked in the whiskey gloom. You washed your hands in a rusted sink, like a sinner trying not to sin. Pull that cross from your collarbone, said a quiet prayer when you were alone, not for her to come back again, just for peace with the man you've been. Some loves fade like a dying flame, some leave scars that carve your name. But every man who walks this road hearts ain't his to hold. You let her go free through the midnight rain, through the wild young fire and the quiet pain. No chains of guilt, no bitter fight, just two lost souls in a fading light. Yeah, the world kept spinning, the deals got done. New scars caused by a colder sun. But somewhere deep in the man you grew, there's a quiet grave in the truth you know. Not every love was meant to stay. Some were sent to shape your soul, then walk away.
Rain crawling down, cracking windshield, my old Chevy coughing on a midnight hill. Gas gauge low, dreams running high, just a stubborn man in a crooked sky. Had a dollar watch, second-hand plane, callous hands on the steering wheel, tame. World said I was chasing smoke and dust, but she looked at me like a man she could trust. Street light flickered on a tired face, gold cross shining on a thin chain lace. She said, baby, I don't need a king tonight, just don't disappear when the road gets tight. Years roll heavy like thunder and death, some nights I drown in whiskey regret. Deals went bad, blood on a barroom floor, voice kept knocking on my back door. I kept my word in the dark of the storm, when the devil said break and the world said conform. Fire in my chest, dust in my lungs, 1,000 sins sitting on my tongue. Yeah, I walked through hell with a gun and a scar, chasing power under crooked stars. But the only oath that still holds true tonight is the promise I made in a diner line. There were nights my hands smelled like steel and smoke, deals so cold even the mirror broke. Men get rich selling pieces of soul, I nearly paid that crooked toll. Came home once with blood on my sleeve, Bible on the table she refused to leave. She washed my hands in a rusted sink slow, like a preacher cleaning a sinner's ghost. Then she tied that cross back around my neck, said a man ain't lost if he don't forget. I stared at the floor where the shadows lay and swore to God I'd find my way. Years kept grinding brick by brick, broken bones and stubborn grit. Every throne a man might claim still ain't worth love turned to shame. So I kept my word through the smoke and flame, through dirty money and borrowed fame, empire built with blood and scar. But her faith was the map through my darkest bars. Yeah, a man can rule half the world outside, still lose his soul in the swell of pride. But tonight I know what redemption means. Not the crown, not the throne, not the gold I own, just the quiet truth that I came back home. A man who kept his word. Neon buzzing over a crooked bar sign, smoke hanging thick like a half-told lie, crowd moving fast in a blur of cheap perfume, laughter sharp as broken glass in the room. He sits in a corner where the shadows stay long, whiskey untouched, just a slow blues song. Bartender knows not to ask him why. Some men drink, some men just watch life pass by. Gold chain glints under a faded shirt, cross on his chest like a witness to hurt. Hands rough, knuckles worn by time and sin. A quiet man with a war within. He used to run wild through rooms like this, chasing fire in a stranger's kiss. Something changed in the quiet one night. A woman walked in carrying a different kind of light. Now he watches the chaos like a preacher in rain, seeing every lie, every borrowed name. Fire in the bottle, smoke in the air, but the peace he knows ain't hiding there. Yeah, the devil still hums through the neon glow. Old sins whisper soft and low, but somewhere past the noise and the barroom scars, there's a woman waiting where the quiet hearts are. She never liked these whiskey lights, said they turn good men into Saturday ghosts. Preferred slow coffee on a cracked front porch, morning wind and scripture quotes. One winter night he came home late, his sleeve from a deal gone bad. Gun on the table, hands shaking slow. A man looking more lost than mad. She took that silver cross off his chain, dipped it in water from a chipped old bowl, pressed it back against his chest like fire, said a prayer that rattled his soul. He didn't laugh, didn't speak, just stood there breathing like a man reborn halfway. Now when the city howls and the night runs loud, steps inside just to see that crowd. Not to chase the ghosts he used to know, just to remember how far he chose to go. Sits in the corner with a wild heart spin, watching old temptations dance with sin. Neon burns bright like a crooked prayer, but the life he built ain't hiding there. Yeah, a man can drown in the noise of the night, lose his soul in a barroom fight, but strength ain't found in the loudest scars. It's walking back home to the woman who hears your silence from miles away in the dark.